In this video, let us quickly do a little bit of practice on using if-else statements. In the previous video, we looked at the syntax of if-else and nested if-else, and also how to write if-else conditions in a single line. This is a video, we'll take a few examples and try to just make sure that the syntax is well understood and we are able to use if-else whenever the need arises. We'll take a very simple first question. Let me write here practice. Okay. And when I write the question, try to pause the video and try to think of the answer. If you're sitting with a laptop, try to code the answer and try to see if you're able to get the response, and then you can check my approach. Okay. So it says write a program that takes an integer input from the user and prints positive if the number is greater than 0. So we'll be able to write, let us take first the number. We'll take the number as 10, and we need to check if the input is positive. So we can write a if condition saying that if number greater than 0, and you can choose whether you want greater than equal to 0 or just 0. Let me put it as greater than 0, and then I'm going to say print the number is positive. Okay. And it says it does not say anything about printing anything if the number is not greater than 0, but let us put one condition, else uh, we'll say print the number is not positive. Okay, this way. So we have number here 10, but instead of 10, the question says we need to take the input from the user. So we'll say input, enter the number, and we need to convert this number either to int or to float. Okay. So the difference between converting it to int to float is that suppose the user enters the number maybe 5. So we can convert this to 5, but if he enters 5.6, then we are going to get an error. Okay. So, and if the user enters something else completely, for example, if he enters apple, we are going to get an error. But the case where user is entering something like 7.8 can be handled in case you convert this to a float. Okay. So at least one edge case can be handled. So here you can use int or float depending on your judgment. Okay. And here we are taking the input from the user, converting it to integer, and then we are showing here. So we can say 10. Okay, number is positive. If we say -9, -19, it says number is not positive. So we are able to write a simple if else condition. So here again, this is case of a very simple if else statement, and this is a good way to write it. But I also showed you how to write if else conditions using a single line, so we can also use that. So we can take this line and say if number greater than 0, else, and we can give this print statement. This is also another way of writing, and we can take the input from the user here like this also, and I'm giving -6, and it says number is not positive. So these are the two ways in which we have learned how to write if else conditions. Okay, let us look at another question. So the question says, write a program that checks if the given string is empty. If it is empty, then print empty string. So how do we check for empty string? Let me write a string here, and let me keep it as empty. And the way to check an empty string is to check the length of the string. So if we check the length of the string, it is 0. So I think I've showed you earlier how to check the length of the string. If not, then this is the way. You use the keyword len. Len stands for length, and it is a function. Later on in the course, we'll learn about functions. But if you write len, and if you pass maybe say apple, it is going to give you 5, because there are 5 characters in apple. And this length function is used with other data structures also, like list, dictionary, etc. Again, that is something we'll see later. But for now, you can check it this way. You can also check this way. If you say if string print, maybe print apple, you see nothing is getting printed, because if the length of the string is 0, then if you put it across a if statement, then that will also give you a none. Okay. And if there is something here, maybe if I put maybe a, and then if you check if string, so this string will give you positive. So again, later in the course, we'll talk about truthies and falsies. So empty string is actually a falsie. So if you check, if you write a if condition in front of empty string, it is going to give false. Similarly, if you also do 0, 0 is also a falsie. Print something, it is not going to print anything, because 0 is also a falsie. Empty string is also a falsie. A none in Python is also a falsie. Falsie, by falsie I mean something that returns false in a if condition. Okay. So these are the two ways to check. If you can use this length function, or you can simply use if string. By using this concept, let us try to solve this question. Write a program that checks if the given string is empty. So let us ask the user to enter something. So I'm going to say input, enter a string value. And here there is no need to cast it to integer because I'm not expecting the user to enter a number, and the code that I'm going to write is also not expecting a number, so there is no need to write a convert this to integer. I hope that is clear. And I'm going to say if string, then print, or I'm going to say if not string, because if we need to check if it is empty, so I'm going to say if not string, then I'm going to say print the string is empty. And it's not told in the question what to do if the string is not empty. So in that, but we'll just add it. We'll say print, we'll say the string you entered has how many characters. um, we are going to we are going to find how many characters the string has, so I'll just say length of string, and I'm going to say characters. So when you're using print statements, you can separate different components of the print statement by using a comma. There are better ways of writing this, but we have not seen those yet. So you'll be able to write this in a better way in the future when we learn about formatted strings. But for now, we know only about the print statement. So print statement, I'm writing three elements. The first element is string you has entered, and then one comma, and then here maybe 5, 6, 7, whatever the length of the string is there, and then we'll have characters. So let us see, run this, and I'm going to say banana, and it says the string you entered has 6 characters. Fine, let me run this again, and let me not put anything. Let me just press enter here, so that empty string goes, and this says the string is empty. So this way we are able to check whether a entered string in Python is having some length or not. Okay, I hope this is clear. Let us try to see one more example, that we need to write a program to check if a given year is a leap year or not. So leap year is something that is divisible by 4, I think. Okay, so we can say take year, and we can say 2004, and then we can say if year, and if it is divisible by 4, that means when we divide it by 4, the remainder should be equal to 0. So in this case, the year is going to be a leap year, so I'm going to say print the year is a leap year, else print, we can say sorry, the year is not a leap year. So let us run this, and it says year is a leap year, and if we write 2024, I think this is also a leap year. Okay, very well. And here you can also take the input from a user. And okay, when you are writing these codes, keep in mind that later on we have to learn how to handle situations where a user enters something that cannot be cast into as input. Say for example, instead of 2024, if I say input, enter the year, and I need it to be an integer or a float. Okay, so I'm casting it as an integer, and I'm saying 2024, and it says here is a leap year. Very very good. But if I write here banana, the this part of the code is returning banana, and then we are trying to convert banana to an integer, and that's why we are getting a value error here. Now this is one type of error, and this is not a good practice to have these kind of errors being shown to the user, because a user can very well enter some nonsense values, and we need to handle it a little bit more graciously. So this is something that we will see later in exception handling. I think in control flow I told you something about exception handling. So this is a topic for the future which we are going to see after we have seen loops, as to how these kind of errors can be managed, or how these kind of errors can be um, how we can be prepared beforehand to see these kind of errors and handle them in a proper way, instead of showing this kind of red message box which a user may not be able to understand. We need to show that you have entered an invalid value, please try again, or you did not enter a valid year, something like that we have to show. And you must have seen this when you are working on any kind of online forms. When you are entering some email id, if you enter an email id that is not a valid email id, it does not show you some a red screen with this kind of ugly error. It shows you that you have entered an invalid phone number, or you have entered an invalid email id. So we will also learn how to handle that, but just keep that in mind, that that is any code you write, just keep in mind under what situation or what edge cases it can fail. And if we know those edge cases beforehand, then we can be well prepared to show something that is more meaningful when that error happens, instead of this red box. So that is the one point I just wanted to make here. And let me just bring it back, and let me say 2000, and it says here is a leap year, so the code is working completely fine. Okay, so let us go to the next question. It says we want to check if a number is divisible by 5 and 3. So here we will be using an AND condition. That's why I'm taking this question. The question says write a program that prints divisible by both if a number is divisible by both 5 and 3. So how do we check if a number is divisible by both 5 and 3? We will have number modulus division by 5 equal to 0, and you have to say and number divisible by 3 equal to 0, and I'm using an and condition here. And means both these conditions have to be satisfied, and in and condition will return a true only if this is also true and this is also true. If the question was that print divisible, if a number is divisible by 5 or 3, in that case either one of them have to be true in order to get the result as true, so we can use or. But here we have to it says divisible by both, so I'm going to use and I'm going to say if, and then I'm going to print divisible by both. Okay, and then we need a number. Let me take a number. Let me take a number as 15, and it should say divisible by both. But if I say 16, it does not say anything. And you can also extend this question to print if it is only divisible by 5, or it is only divisible by 3, or it is divisible by both, or it is divisible by none. Okay, so you can write multiple if conditions here. I am leaving that for you. What you can do is you can say elif just this. Okay, and you can say print divisible by only 5, and otherwise you can take one more here, and you can say elif 3 divisible by only 3, and else you can say print divisible by none by neither 5 nor 3. Okay, now try to think about it. Now try to think about this logic. Either it is either there are three conditions: either it is divisible by both, or by only 5, or by only 3, or by neither. Okay, so if this condition is true, all of this code will be ignored. But if this condition is not true, that means either this or this or this will be true. Okay, so if this condition is true, then this code will be rejected, and if divisible by 3 is true, then remaining will be rejected. If all these conditions are not met, then last code will be printed. I hope you were able to get the logic. So here it is saying neither divisible by neither 5 or 3, but if I say 12, then it says divisible by only 3, and if I say 10, then it says divisible by only 5. So this way you can also incorporate if, elif, else, this kind of statements. Okay, but my point was to show you here the use of and statement. Okay, let us take one more example. It says write a program that takes two integers as input and prints the larger one. Okay, so how do we do this? Let us say we are going to have two numbers. So we'll say number 1. I'm going to ask the user to enter the first number, and then I'm going to take this and I'm going to say second number, and then we are going to check if number 1 greater than number 2, then we want to print the larger number is, and I'm going to say number 1. Otherwise, okay, after that we are going to say else, we are going to say larger number is the second one. Enter the first number 10, enter the second number 4, and it says the larger number is 4. Okay, sorry, we need to convert this to integer, otherwise we are doing string comparison. And it says number, so it need not just be integer number, so it is better that we convert this to float. And we can also print what are the numbers entered, so we can say print the numbers you entered are, and we can say number 1 and number 2. Okay, so now let me close this, and now let me run this. It says the first number is, maybe I'm going to say 9.4, and the second number is 5.1. You see, now I'm able to enter float numbers also. It says numbers you entered are 9.4, 5.1, and the larger number is 10.4. Here I can make a little bit better change, and I can add and here a little bit of space, and if I enter 9.3 and 100.5, it says numbers you entered are 9.3 and 100.5, larger number is 100.5. So we are able to solve this question. I hope you are following and you are able to write these statements on your own. Again, there's a question which is based on the grading. I think I've shown this example earlier, so I'm not going to write this. So try to solve it on your own. It says write a program that assigns a grade based on the following. So you need to take input from the user as marks, and depending on condition, you need to assign a grade, and then you need to print the grade. Same example I've shown you in the practice in the earlier video, but this one, try to write it on your own and see if you're able to get the desired result. You will yourself be able to verify whether what you have written is correct or not. Let us take a few more examples. So it says write a program that checks if the given character is a vowel. Okay, so what we need to do, we need to take, say for example, if we have a character A, So what we need to check is whether a whatever is the character, whether it belongs to any one of a, e, I, o, u. Okay, because these are the vowels, and it can be capital A, E, I, O, U also. So any character that is entered should be one of these characters. So how do we check that? So if we have this as a string, okay, we can say vowels. So we can use the membership operator to check whether the character is in vowel or not. Say for example, if I have a character called F, if I say in vowels, it's going to check whether F is one of these characters or not. If it is one of these characters, this statement is going to return me a true. And if this is returning me a true, that means this is a condition and it can be used alongside if condition. So I'm going to say if, then I'm going to say print the character is a vowel. Let us check. It does not print anything. And we can say else print the character is not a vowel. So it says character is not a vowel. Now instead of this F, let me just put character, and I need to have a character is equal to maybe a, then it says character is a vowel. Now this character we can take from the user, but we have to ensure that the user enters only one character. Okay, user has to enter only one character. So we will put some condition for that also. So let me take here input, enter a character to check if it's a vowel. Okay, I will say please enter only one character, please enter one character. So now it says maybe I enter U, it says character is a vowel. If I enter O, it says it is a vowel. If I enter maybe H, then it says character is not a vowel. It is working fine. But what happens if I enter U and U? Then it says the character is not a vowel because U and U is not belonging to vowels. U and U both are not belonging to vowels. So what we can do, we can check beforehand if character in vowels. Beforehand we can check right like this: if length of character is greater than 1. Okay, it should be 1. If the length of the character is greater than 1, then greater than 1, and also it should be 1, it should not be 0. Okay, so it should be, if the length of character is equal to 0, this is a problem, this is a case where we will have a problem. Or if the length of the character is greater than 1, if it is equal to 0 or if it is greater than 1, in that case I want to print you have entered invalid entry. I'm going to say please enter only one character, please enter only one character. So this way we are able to handle some edge cases here. Let me put one slash and bring it down so that you will be able to see the entire line. This is a way, if you want to have multi-line code, you can use a slash. So let us try this now. And suppose I don't enter anything, I just press enter. It says you have entered invalid entry. And okay, so what is happening here? This block of code is still getting executed. So what I will do, I'll put one else block here, and I'll put this code here. Okay, now everything will work. If I just enter maybe I and I, then it will say you have entered invalid entry, please enter only one character. Now this entire code, if I take it and if I write it here, I can also convert this as to one line code. Control C, I'll say if, and then I can write here else, and I can put this block of code here just to show you the different ways of doing. We can also write the code like this. This is also completely fine. If I say U, it says character is a vowel. If I enter space, it says character is not a vowel. Okay, space. Okay, so there's also a problem that someone should not just enter a space. Okay, so later on when we learn about string, you will learn how to check whether the character that has been entered is a space or not. So I'll show you. I'll show you that later. But for now, I think this much is sufficient. Let us look at few more examples. Okay, so the question says that we need to calculate the electricity bill based on the following rules. If the units are less than 100, then there is a rate. If the units are less than 300, then there is another rate. And if the units are above 300, then there is a separate rate. So this is how the electricity bill for us is also calculated. Depending upon the number of units you use, the rate changes, and it could be slightly more complicated. Say for example, if you have the electricity bill as 400, so the first 100 units can be calculated this way, and between 100 to 300 can be calculated another way. But we are going to keep it very simple, and we are just going to take blanket total units, and depending on which bucket it falls, we'll calculate the electricity bill. So let us try to write this code. First we will need units. Okay, so maybe the units is maybe 350, and we are going to say if units greater than 300, okay, then we are going to say that the bill is equal to, and let me also write the rate. So let me say rate 300 is equal to 3, and the rate 100 to 200, 100 to 300 is equal to 2, and we are going to say rate 100 is equal to 1.5. So if the units is greater than 300, then I'm going to say electricity bill will be equal to units times rate 300. Okay, else uh, I'm going to say elif units greater than 100, then I'm going to say the bill will be units times 100 to 300, and then we are going to say else units, and here we can also put one elif because the units has to be positive. If the unit is negative, then that is an invalid entry, so you can handle it separately on top like I have shown you earlier, or you can put a condition here. Elif if it is greater than 0, greater than equal to 0, then bill will be equal to units times rate 100. Okay, else we'll say print you have entered invalid entry, and then we need to just print the bill. Print the bill is, and just show the bill like this. Okay, and here we can say bill is equal to empty string, so that we don't get an error. So let us enter what happened. We got some error somewhere. elif, sorry, if we need to put units here. So bill is 100 1050, because 350 into 3 I think we are doing. So instead of this units, let me ask the user to enter the units. So if I enter the units, which is maybe just 10, then I should get 15 because 1.5 times 10. Very well. If I enter the units as 150, then I'm getting 300 because 150 times 2 is 300. And if I enter my bills as 400, then I should get 1200 because 400 times 3 we are getting 1200. So this is the logic, and try to write a logic where we have, suppose if it is 400 units, then first 100 unit bill is calculated on this rate, and remaining is calculated on this rate, and whatever is above 300, that only should be calculated this way. So it should be for 300, it should be 100 times 1.5 plus 200 times 2, and plus 100 times 3. So in that case the bill will be 850 instead of 1200. So this is a different logic. So try to write the if condition and see if you're able to implement this logic here. So one final question we'll solve, and then we'll wrap it up. The question says, this is a question to check for substrings. So it says ask the user to enter a sentence and check if the word contains Python. So again, this is a membership check. So we are going to ask the user to enter a string, input, enter the word, and then we are going to check if Python in word, then we are going to print you are talking about Python. Else we can just print there is no mention of Python. So where we went wrong? Python in word, input. Okay, sorry, here there is no need for colon. And if we say Python, it says, okay, sorry, what happened? Word is not defined in word. Sorry, this should be word. Okay, and if we write Python, it says you are talking about Python. If we enter Apple apps, it says there is no mention of Python. Now one more thing we can do here is that, suppose if I enter Python in small characters, then it says there is no mention of Python, but I'm talking about Python. So what we can do is we can put this as lowercase, and whenever we take a word, let me also print you entered the word, and we'll say the word. So in order to handle that case sensitivity where we are typing the word Python, but if you are not putting the P as capital because the question says capital P, but I want to make it general use case where someone enters completely capital Python. Say for example here, if we enter capital Python, Python, So this will say there is no mention of Python, although we have used the word Python. Just because of case sensitivity, it is not working. So a good idea for that, to do that, is that if you have a string and if you do dot lower here, if you do a dot lower, it will convert the string to lowercase. Okay, and in that case, if even if you write it this way, then also it becomes correct. So instead of searching for this word, I'm going to search for smaller case Python, and whenever we take a word, we are going to convert the word to lower, so that no matter what user has entered, capital P and remaining in small case, or everything in capital case, everything is going to become small case. And that case, in that way, we will be able to check the membership of this word irrespective of the casing. So now let us try. And if I write Python like this, then also it says you are talking about Python. The case sensitivity is not taken into picture. Okay, and if I write everything capital, then also it works. If I write everything in small, then also it works. So I handled one extra use case, extra edge case here. And these kind of things we always have to think. And especially when we are trying to check for strings, it's a very common practice to convert the string to lowercase and then do the check. In fact, here also, when we did the previous example, when we were checking for vowels, instead of having vowels like this, we can just have vowels as a, e, I, o, u, because there is a repetition here. We are repeating the same characters, and in this case there are only 5 characters, so that is acceptable. But for a bigger use case, having this kind of repetition is not a good idea. So we can have vowels like this, and when we are checking, instead of, let me take these two code here and explain to you separately. Okay, instead of having vowels like this, we can have vowels like this. And if character, and what we can do is character dot lower, we can convert the character to lower before checking, so that even if the user enters a capital A, that will be taken care of. So let me just see. If I put capital A, it says character is a vowel, because before checking, the capital A becomes a small a, and small a is present here, so we don't need to have this duplication here. So this is again something that I just wanted to point out. So we have done sufficient practice. I hope you got to understand the different use cases of if and else statement in different situations. And we'll continue our journey of learning Python. In the next module, we are going to learn about loops. So thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.